Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm a teacher and author, and this is English Nerd. So today I'm going to talk about some of the hardest classics to read. Now, I have read the majority of these, and I will admit when I have not actually read one. In fact, number one is something that I have intentionally avoided because of its reputation for being just so difficult and obscure. So let's get into it. Some of the most difficult classics to read. If you want to see some of the easiest, then I have other videos about that. Okay, I'm going to start off with one that might be a little bit controversial in a couple ways, but I'm just going to go for it. The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, you know that I'm a Tolkien fan if you have been around the channel, or even if you haven't, because you can see my massive banners back there for Gondor and Rohan. But the Silmarillion is not really that cohesive. The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, those are stories that all go together. The Silmarillion is notes that were posthumously combined into this book by Tolkien's son. And so it, at least at the beginning, for the first third or so, it reads like history with a tremendous number of names. It's difficult to keep track of everybody. It's difficult to care about who is doing what because there just isn't much of a plot. It is more of a description of the mythology, and so that is why this makes the list. Next is actually a poet, T.S. Eliot, The Wasteland. The Wasteland is one of the most famous poems in English, but it is just notoriously difficult to understand. You can try it. It's not that long. It's maybe 12 pages or something like that. It's been a minute since I have read The Wasteland. But it uses multiple languages, multiple styles. It definitely requires a lot of digging to get even the smallest amount of understanding out of. There is something beautiful to be gained from The Wasteland, but it is definitely one of the hardest classic poems to read, in my opinion. Next, this will come as no surprise, I'm going to double up and have two at the same time because they're on here for the same reason. Victor Hugo's Les Miserables and Herman Melville's Moby Dick. I have read both of these in their entirities with nothing left out. They are both, as far as I'm aware, completely unabridged. This one even says very proudly that it is an unabridged edition. The reason that both of these are on here is that both of them go on lengthy tangents on topics that very few people would find all that interesting. We have the cetology of, which is the classification of whales. We have multiple chapters just giving measurements of whale skeletons, etc. going on in Moby Dick. There are very interesting chapters, but in between those interesting chapters are these tangents that I personally could do without. And I like long books sometimes. Les Mis has the same deal going on. The good chapters are very, very good, but in between, you're learning all about the Paris sewers, you're learning all about the Battle of Waterloo, you're learning all about the education system and how it is related to convents in Paris. I mean, it's a lot, so that is why those make the list. Sorry about the light, by the way, it's a bit cloudy today, so. Next one is Fyodor Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. Now, this is the only one that I will strongly recommend that you still read. Obviously, feel free, try Les Mis. It has some beautiful passages. Try The Wasteland. That one has some lovely lines and references that you can get. The reason that the Brothers Karamazov, or my translation says the Karamazov brothers, is on this list is not only because it is lengthy, it is really dense, lots of Russian names, which if you're not used to Russian literature takes a bit of getting used to, but the content as well is really emotionally and even kind of spiritually challenging. So it's not only difficult in some ways to read just in that way, but the content itself is difficult too. This book I do love. This book, so I can say that, but there's a reason that it's on some of those lists for the hardest books to read. And the last one I do not own because I am not interested in reading it, and that is James Joyce's Ulysses. Basically anything by James Joyce. We can just put him as an author on this list. I have read some James Joyce, so don't get all outraged on me. I read his shorter novel, The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, and it's impressive in that it is stream of consciousness, not just like what you do with diary entries, but what it is like in your head when your thoughts are disconnected and you can't get outside your head to actually see what's going on. If you haven't read any stream of consciousness, I would recommend reading a short story or something. There's some really good ones out there that give you a taste of what I'm talking about, but an entire novel's worth of that is a lot. And so if you look deeper into James Joyce, he has some stories that are more understandable, and there are other stories that are just famously so incomprehensibly difficult in their sentence structure and in the made up words and the syntax that doesn't actually congeal at all, that I'm surprised it got published, some of his stuff, to be perfectly frank. So although there are lots of classics that I would love to read at some point in my life, the more difficult James Joyce novels are not on those lists, and that is why. So again, if you want to see some of the easiest and or shortest classics that I would recommend, you can look at those videos on the channel. But today it is the ones that are the most difficult, in my opinion. So you can still give them a shot. Tell me what you think. But they are an accomplishment, we'll put it that way, to get through. So make sure to like this video if you like it, and subscribe for more English nerdy goodness. I'll see you next time.